Page 28. Harmony Variations. The pealing anthem swells the note of praise. This line from Thomas Gray's Elegy, written in a country churchyard, is an excellent definition of an anthem. It invariably is a song in praise. By extension, a national anthem of a nation-state is a lyrical and stirring melody extolling the subject nation. Most national anthems have a halo of sacredness associated with the words and music. A national anthem is the identifying call of a nation-state. This last and important point was articulated by India's first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru, when he told the Constituent Assembly, legislative, on 25 August 1948, quote opens, "The question of having a national anthem, N.A. capital, tune to be played by orchestra and bands became an urgent one for us immediately after August 15, 1947. It was as important from the point of view of our defense services and our foreign embassies and legations and other establishments." Page 29. It was obviously not suitable for, quote, "God Save the King," unquote, to be played by our army bands or abroad after the changeover to independence. We were constantly being asked as to what tune should be played on such occasions. We could not give an answer because the decision could only be made by the Constituent Assembly. The Jana Gana Mana tune, slightly varied, had been adopted as national anthem by the Indian National Army in Southeast Asia and had subsequently attained a degree of popularity in India also. The matter came to a head on the occasion of the General Assembly of the United Nations in 1947 in New York. Our delegation was asked for our national anthem for the orchestra to play on a particular occasion. Stop and quote footnote 26. Footnote 26, statement by Jawaharlal Nehru on 25 August 1948 in response to a question raised by Keshava Rao, quoted in Constituent Assembly of India Legislative Debates, Volume 6, 1948, pages 548 to 49. Back to text. Quite clearly, the General Assembly of the United Nations felt, as per the prevailing practice, to have a piece of music which could be identified, page 30, with the newborn Indian nation-state. All nation-states have national anthems, and they serve as one of the identifying symbols of the nation-state together with the national flag. The flag and the anthem stand for the nation. As noted, India's national anthem, Jana Gana Mana, was a poem written and then set to music by Rabindranath Tagore in 1911. In the speech referred to above, Nehru added that the Indian delegation to the UN in New York had with them a record of Jana Gana Mana, and the delegation gave this to the orchestra, who practiced and played it. When the piece was played before a large gathering, it won applause and approbation. The tune struck them to be, in Nehru's words, quote, "distinctive and dignified," unquote, stop. This is perhaps the first occasion when Jana Gana Mana was played in an international forum as India's song, even though it still had not been adopted as the national anthem of India by the Constituent Assembly. Nehru had emphasized that only the Constituent Assembly could decide which piece of music/song would be India's national anthem. The formal announcement that Jana Gana Mana would be the national anthem of India was made by President Rajendra Prasad to the Constituent Assembly when it met for the last time on 24 January 1950 to sign the Constitution of India. Rajendra Prasad said, quote opens, page 31, "There is one matter which has been pending for discussion, namely the question of the national anthem. At one time it was thought that the matter might be brought up before the House and a decision taken by the House by way of resolution. But it has been felt that instead of taking a formal decision by means of a resolution, it was better if I make a statement with regard to the national anthem. Accordingly, I make this statement, quote opens, the composition consisting of the words and music known as Jana Gana Mana is the national anthem of India, subject to such alteration in the words as government may authorize as occasion arises. And the song Vande Mataram, which has played a historic part in the struggle for freedom, shall be honored equally with Jana Gana Mana and shall have equal status with it." Stop unquote, footnote 27. Footnote 27, Constituent Assembly Debates, Volume 12, online facsimile, pages 255-258. Once the signing of the Constitution was over, a member, Anantha Iyengar, requested that the assembled members should collectively sing Jana Gana Mana. The President gave his consent. Members of the Constituent Assembly, including the President, sang Jana Gana Mana in chorus, which was led by Purnima Banerjee, bracket opens, one of the 15 women members of the Constituent Assembly, bracket closes, stop, footnote 28. It could be said that this was the formal debut of Jana Gana Mana as the national anthem of India. Footnote 28, Ibid. At the risk of digressing a little bit, two rather significant points need to be noted. One is what Nehru wrote regarding India's national anthem in the centenary year of Tagore's birth, while penning a moving tribute to the poet and his many splendid creativity and personality. Nehru wrote, quote opens, "During my last visit to him, I requested him to compose a national anthem for the new India. He partly agreed. At that time, I did not have Jana Gana Mana, our present national anthem, in mind. He died soon after. It was a great happiness to me when some years later, after the coming of independence, we adopted Jana Gana Mana as our national anthem. I have a feeling of satisfaction that I was partly responsible for this choice, not only because it is a great national song, but also because it is a constant reminder to all our people of Rabindranath Tagore." Stop unquote, footnote 29. Footnote 29. On Rabindranath Tagore, Madhavan K. Palat edited Selected Works of Jawaharlal Nehru, Second Series, Volume 69, New Delhi. Jawaharlal Nehru Memorial Library, 2016, page 508. This piece first appeared as an introduction to Rabindranath Tagore, 1861-1961. A centenary volume, New Delhi, Sahitya Academy, 1961, page Roman small, 16. Back to text, page 33. The second is how Subhash Chandra Bose, in exile from India in the early 1940s, adopted Jana Gana Mana as the national anthem. When Bose inaugurated the Free India Centre in Europe on 2 November 1942, the song was chosen by him as the national anthem. This predated by 8 years the official acceptance of this song as the national anthem of the Indian Republic. Under Bose's leadership, a Hindustani version of the song was made the national anthem. This version was rendered by Abid Hassan, and Mumtaz Hussain composed the song in 3 verses. Ram Singh Thakur made a score for bands to play based on the original tune. Stop. Footnote 30. Footnote 30. I take these details from Sugato Bose, Our National Anthem, The Nation as Mother, and Other Visions of Nationhood, New Delhi, Viking, 2017, pages 168 to 69. Back to text. It is noteworthy that 2 outstanding patriots, Nehru and Bose, roughly around the same time, were thinking of a national anthem for a new and independent India. Bose in 1942 had already adopted Jana Gana Mana as the national anthem, and Nehru, in his last meeting with Tagore shortly before the latter's death in 1941, had requested the poet to compose a national anthem. Page 34. It is obvious that both Nehru and Bose were confident that an India free from British rule was no longer a distant dream, but lay in the immediate future. The story of its composition and of its first singing should be recollected. In 1937, Pulin Bihari Sen, a close associate of Tagore, wrote to him inquiring about the context for the song. Tagore replied, "Someone well placed in government circles who was a friend of mine specially requested me to compose a song in praise of the Emperor George V. I was amazed at this request, and the amazement was laced with anger. It was as a strong reaction and opposition to this request that I proclaimed the victory of the champion of India's destiny in the song Jana Gana Mana Adhinayaka. This champion is the eternal charioteer, is the guide of the travelers on the hazardous path of rise and fall, and is in the hearts of the multitude and their guide. That such an eternal charioteer of humanity's destiny cannot be George V or VI or any other George was perceived by my loyalist friend, because despite his devotion within bracket to the emperor, bracket closed, he was not bereft of intelligence. Stop unquote, footnote 31, page 35. Footnote 31, Tagore to Pulin Bihari Sen, 20 November 1937. Prashanta Kumar Pal, Robi Jiboni, Volume 6, Calcutta. Ananda Publishers, 1993. Page 256, N 140. The translation is mine. Back to text. There is some speculation, if not a puzzle, regarding the identity of this loyalist friend. In a book on India's national anthem, Prabodh Chandra Sen suggested that possibly Ashutosh Chaudhuri was the friend. Footnote 32. But when Sen wrote an English version of the book, footnote 33, he made no mention of Chaudhuri as being the person who had made the request to Tagore, and in fact did not identify the friend. This erasure is something of a mystery. Was it because in the 1 year that separated the Bengali and the English book, he had discovered that his identification had been wrong, or was it because he thought that Ashutosh Chowdhury would be too obscure a person for non-Bengali readers? Footnote 32. Prabodh Chandra Sen, Bharatbarshe Jatiyo Songit, Calcutta, Purbasha, 1948, page 2N1. Ashutosh Chowdhury, 1860 to 1924, was a very close friend of Tagore and was married to his niece. He was a very successful barrister at law and was appointed a judge of the Calcutta High Court. He belonged to the moderate section of the Indian National Congress and was active in the Swadeshi movement. He was knighted in 1921. Footnote 33. Prabodh Chandra Sen, India's National Anthem, Calcutta, Vishwabharati, 1949. Back to text, page 36. The mystery deepens because Prashanta Kumar Pal, who wrote a very detailed multi-volume, within bracket but unfinished, biography of Tagore, thought that Prabodh Chandra Sen had been wrong in identifying Chowdhury as the friend Tagore had written about. He went to argue that it was much more justified to identify Pradyut, P-R-O-D-Y-U-T, Pradyut Kumar Tagore as the concerned friend. Pradyut Tagore's loyalism was so pronounced that he was one of the two persons who had held the state umbrella as the king and the queen had walked to the pageant that had been organized in Calcutta in their honor. Footnote 34. Pal was only making an educated guess. In the absence of hard evidence, the identity of the friend Tagore had referred to remains shrouded in obscurity. Footnote 34. Pal, Robi Jiboni, Volume 6, page 256. Pradyut Kumar Tagore, 1873 to 1942, belonged to the Pathuriyagata branch of the Tagore family. He was the first Indian to become a member of the Royal Photography Society. He was knighted in 1906 and given the title Maharaja in 1908. Back to text. What is crystal clear, however, is that Tagore did not write Jana Gana Mana in praise of George V. Jana Gana Mana was first sung on the second day, 27 December of the 1911 session of the Indian National Congress held in Calcutta. Both Gyananjan Niyogi, Jnananjan, Gyananjan Niyogi and Nilratan Sarkar were involved in the arrangements and organization of this session. At Sarkar's request, Niyogi got the song from Tagore and gave it to Sarkar. Before it was sung in the Congress session, page 37, rehearsals were held at Sarkar's house on Harrison Road in Calcutta. Footnote 35. Footnote 35, Sen, Bharatbarshe Jatiyo Songit, page 5N3. Gyananjan Niyogi, 1891 to 1956, was a freedom fighter and social reformer, very well known in Bengal. Nilratan Sarkar, 1861 to 1943, was an exact contemporary and close friend of Tagore. He was an eminent doctor, philanthropist, and Swadeshi entrepreneur. Back to text. It is important to sketch the context for this session of the Congress. One important section of the Congress in this period was labelled the Moderates, led at this time by Surendranath Banerjee. A few days before the Congress session in Delhi, George V had revoked the partition of Bengal, which, as we have seen, had happened in 1905 following a decision taken during the viceroyalty of Lord Curzon. The partition had provoked the Swadeshi movement 1905 to 1908, a major political movement in Bengal. Demonstrations, protest meetings, boycott of foreign goods, displays of Hindu-Muslim unity, a cultural efflorescence, and even violence towards the end of the movement. Repression to end the movement was severe. The government used arrests, preventive detention, deportation, and press censorship. Footnote 36. Footnote 36. For details of this movement, see Shumit Sarkar, The Swadeshi Movement in Bengal, 1903 to 1908, Ranikhet, Permanent Black, 2010. Back to text. Tagore had been at the forefront of the Swadeshi movement till its violent phase. Page 38. In the course of his participation in the Swadeshi movement, Tagore had made his patriotism and his sentiments against British rule abundantly clear. Footnote 37. Some of his most powerful and stirring patriotic songs were composed during this phase of his life. Commenting on Tagore's creativity during this period, Ezra Pound was to write later, quote opens, Tagore has sunk Bengal into a nation. Stop unquote, footnote 38. Footnote 37, for Tagore's participation in the Swadeshi movement and his withdrawal from it, see Mukharjee, Tagore and Gandhi, pages 1 to 45. Footnote 38, quoted in S. Gopal, British Policy in India, 1858 to 1905, Cambridge University Press, 1965, page 274. Back to text. King George V and others in the higher echelons of power in London acknowledged that the partition had not been a wise and tactical move. The king wanted to revoke the partition and intended to do so at the coronation darbar, which he was determined to hold in India. The king's visit to India, the first by a British monarch, took place in the winter of 1911, and the Grand Darbar began with the state entry into Delhi of the king and the queen. At the very end of the Darbar, the king snatched a paper from the hands of the Viceroy Lord Hardinge and read out the announcement of the change of capital from Calcutta to Delhi and to revoke the partition of Bengal. Footnote 39. Footnote 39, for a description of the Darbar, see Rudrangshu Mukherjee, Old Seat for a New Empire, Calcutta to Delhi, Malvika Singh and Rudrangshu Mukherjee, New Delhi, Making of a Capital, New Delhi, Rowley Books, 2011. Back to text, page 39. While the shifting of the capital caused great dismay among the British population in Calcutta, the annulment of the partition brought much delight to some Bengalis, especially those belonging to the moderate section of the Congress. An incident after the conclusion of the Darbar was the subject of first bewilderment and then mirth. As the crowd was dispersing from the amphitheatre, some bareheaded people were seen approaching the dais and bending themselves double before the thrones. It seemed from their gestures that they had raised the royal couple to the level of Hindu deities to whom they were offering worship. It was discovered that these people were Bengalis making an exhibition of their loyalty to the king and queen and thus to the Raj. Footnote 40. Footnote 40, Ibid, page 26. Back to text. The moderates decided that the best occasion to demonstrate their loyalty to the king would be at the Congress session in Calcutta. especially as the royal couple was scheduled to visit Calcutta on 30 December, 2 days after the conclusion of the Congress session. To show their loyalty, the moderates needed a song, page 40, in praise of the king. It is possible that Tagore's loyalist friend, whoever he was, had approached the poet to write such a song. When Tagore refused, the moderates had to look elsewhere for a song in praise of the king. The Congress session was inaugurated by the singing of Vande Mataram. The proceedings of the second day began with the singing of Jana Gana Mana. After this, some letters and telegrams were read out, and a proposal welcoming the royal couple and expressing loyalty to them was presented. After this proposal was accepted, a song of praise of the royal couple in Hindi was sung. It is possible that the moderates had found this song or had this song composed after Tagore's refusal. Surendranath Banerjee's journal, The Bengali, in its report made a clear distinction between the two songs. Quote opens. The proceedings commenced with a patriotic song composed by Babu Rabindranath Tagore, the leading poet of Bengal, ... Then a Hindi song paying heartfelt homage to their imperial majesties was sung by the Bengali boys and girls in chorus. Footnote 41. Footnote 41, Surendranath Banerjee edited The Bengali, 28 December 1911. Back to text. The nationalist daily Amrita Bazar Potrika made a similar distinction, calling Jana Gana Mana a Bengali song of benediction and the Hindi song as a song in honor of their imperial majesty's visit to India. Footnote 42. Page 41. The official report of the Congress for this session described Tagore's composition as a patriotic song and the Hindi one as a song of welcome to their imperial majesties. Footnote 43. It should be noted, however, that the Englishman and the statesman, both considered the vehicles of white and imperial opinion, made no such distinction. Both described Tagore's song as being a song, within bracket the Englishman, and a hymn, Hymn, within bracket the statesman, of welcome to the King Emperor. Footnote 44. Footnote 42, Amrita Bazar Potrika, 28 December 1911. Footnote 43, Sen, India's National Anthem, page 9. Footnote 44, The Englishman, 28 December 1911. The Statesman, 28 December 1911. Back to text. The proceedings of the third day began with the song Otita Gaurava Vahini Mama Vani Gaha Aji Hindustan, which was also known by the name Namo Hindustan. This song was written by Shaurala Devi, 1872 to 1945, Tagore's niece, and had been sung in the 1900 session of the Congress held in Calcutta. Footnote 45. Footnote 45, Sen, Bharatbarsher Jatiyo Sangit, page 7. Back to text. Thus it is obvious that singing of songs during Congress sessions was an established practice. In the winter of 1886, Tagore was persuaded by his friend Taraknath Palit to attend the second session of the Congress in Calcutta. Tagore attended, but somewhat disenchanted by the mendicancy of the Congress, he sang, when requested to sing, his own composition, Amaye Bolo Na Gahite, Do Not Ask Me to Sing,